Hello, my name is Sarah Pesout, and I own and operate the business, the Fermentista. We sell fermented veggies at farmers markets, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experience maintaining staff to help with production and sales at markets. I started out in 2019, and it was just me doing all of the production and all of the markets. And while that was a very important time for me to figure out how my business would run, there were obvious limitations on how many markets I could attend in a week and how much of my time was taken up on production. It took me some time before I felt confident enough in my systems to delegate work to someone else, but I started small and paid cash to some friends who were out of work during the pandemic. While this was a necessary baby step for me on the way to hiring employees, it was not sustainable because once you pay someone, I believe it's $600 a year, you're supposed to prepare a 1099 to file with the IRS, which is paperwork that I don't want to have to pay attention to. In a bit, I'll talk more about my experience with payroll companies who handle all of that sort of thing for you. Okay, so bringing on another set of hands in the kitchen was obviously a huge time saver as my business grew. Now I am able to work with a few extra people and pack all of my production time into one day a week. This is a big expense on labor, but it saves me a lot of time, so that is the trade-off. Besides kitchen help, I also started to send people to other markets to sell the products. And this is a little more daunting since you're sending someone out and trusting them to represent your company and products without you there. But when you do find good people and you give them all of the tools for success, you can trust that they're going to do a great job. My marketeers started out as close friends who had the time and enthusiasm to help. But as we grew, I started to need to find people through other sources like recommendations and postings. And I've been very lucky with the employees I've found. When I'm looking for a new employee, I start by asking folks if they know anyone who might be a good match. I found the most people this way, and it's my preferred method. However, it does work best if you have a longer timeline. Like if it's winter now and you know you'll need someone to start in spring, then you can ask around and find someone. If that doesn't lead to anything, I have posted on my Instagram that we're hiring, and that worked too. If you're in one of the markets under the Portland Farmers umbrella, they have a new service where they will post market jobs for you. And I've also seen folks have a now hiring sign on their market booth, which I'm sure can work great as well. So once I have a new employee, to prepare them for the market, I will always do a training day with them. We start at the commissary kitchen and collect all the product and gear they'll need for the day. I show them the market and the setup, and we sell and we tear down, and then bring everything back to the kitchen and sort of recoup. To help train new employees, I have prepared a market info packet for them to keep and to reference. Initially, this took me some time to put together, but once it's done, it is so convenient to have all of the important information on hand to give new employees, and it makes the process quicker every other time. Most markets have similar rules. So I have a general section with information like the markets all want cars out 30 minutes before the bell, and we can accept any wooden tokens, but no paper tokens. The packet will also have information specific to each market. It'll include the hours and any special instructions. For some markets, for example, some markets have a direction of traffic in the morning that needs to be noted, or sometimes our stall fees are paid automatically, and sometimes they need to be paid day of with cash. Basically, I read the market vendor handbooks and relay all the relevant information to my team in a nice packet that they can keep. And so it actually saves me training time. After it's prepared once, every time you bring someone on after that, it saves you so much time. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some of my experiences with payroll companies. As I mentioned before, I started out with people who were independent contractors instead of employees. But as the business grew and there was more consistent work for people, I had the lines blurred a little bit about whether or not I could justify that contractor definition. I also was worried that if, knock on wood, anyone hurt themselves on the job, they wouldn't be covered. And once you have employees, they all have to have workers' comp insurance. So that made me feel better in that regard. So once you're connected with a payroll company, they will take care of paying your taxes, your employees, their wages, and they'll set you up with workers' comp insurance. They'll take care of W-2s at the end of the year and mail those out, and they will prepare, they'll collect all your tax information for you to give to your tax preparer. Initially, I found one of the bigger national companies to manage payroll for me. And I had a very bad experience with them. First, they misrecorded one of my tax ID numbers, and then they also didn't pay a local TriMet tax. And I'm still trying to deal with that years later. It was hard. It was with the big company, it was so hard to get the right person on the phone to feel like I was being taken care of individually. And I don't want to scare anyone because plenty of people have had a fine experience with one of those big companies. It was a glitch on my setup when I got started. But personally, I just had a really hard time with them. The good news, though, is that I found a local company called American Admin, and they're based in Tualatin, and they are absolutely amazing. They don't cost me any more than the big guys, and they are so good at holding my hand and taking care of everything for me. This is great because I don't understand that side of things at all, and I would just bury my head in the sand if it were left to me to figure out. Basically, all I do is get them the hours for my employees each pay period, and they calculate and pay my taxes, and they pull money from my bank account to my direct deposit it to my employees. They've answered all of the questions I have, and they'll call agencies for me to, like when I had to switch my workers' comp from my last payroll company to the new one. They got my login information and they dealt with all of it. Again, they're absolute gems and they're called American Admin. There's plenty of companies that will do payroll for you. Maybe talk to some folks and see who people who have liked working with before you commit. Okay, for time cards, there are different services that you can pay to keep track of for you, but I haven't found that to ever be necessary. My team has a shared Google document and we can all update it, and then I manually enter that information into a free time card calculator website, and I send those totals to the payroll company every 2 weeks. I'm sure there are tons of easy solutions to the time card issue. I wouldn't overthink it. Just find a system that works for you. And in regard to wages, labor is a huge expense for me. But to lower it, I would have to either pay people less or work more myself. I pay a few dollars over minimum in hopes to be competitive and keep good people around longer. My goal is to pay even more, and if you can afford it, it'll be better for the business overall when you can keep your team happy and invested in your success. Turnover is also expensive since you're paying for training. I know it can be really hard for small businesses when money is tight. So my best advice is to pay what you are able and try to raise it when you have really good people that you wouldn't want to lose. Okay, I think that's everything I had to talk about here today. And I think it's really great that Montevilla Market is compiling this information. I hope it's a super helpful resource for everyone. When I was starting out, I got so much help from other small businesses. So I encourage you to reach out to folks who are doing similar things whenever you have questions. I found that it's a very supportive community around farmers markets, and I always have so much to learn and to share. So don't be shy in asking, because someone around you will have been there before and be excited to share their tips and tricks. Okay, good luck out there.